Building on how you run architecture review boards and design authorities, you now move from decision forums into day-to-day delivery reality. Architecture assurance is how you ensure what was approved actually gets built, deployed, and sustained in a way that remains aligned to enterprise direction, risk posture, and operational needs. When you do assurance well, architecture stops being a one-time approval and becomes a continuous discipline that protects outcomes. With that context clear, you should treat architecture assurance as confidence building across the life cycle, not policing after the fact. Assurance means you continually validate that the solution remains aligned to target state intent, principles, standards, and agreed trade-offs, even as delivery pressures increase. It also means you confirm that risks are being managed, that exceptions are tracked, and that operational readiness is designed in rather than discovered late. Now that assurance is defined, you can understand why it is necessary in almost every program. Delivery teams face changing requirements, timeline pressure, vendor constraints, resource limitations, and unexpected technical dependencies. Under pressure, teams can make local decisions that seem reasonable but slowly drift away from enterprise architecture direction, security expectations, and supportability needs. Assurance is your mechanism to detect drift early and course correct without causing disruption. With drift in mind, you now adopt the mindset that makes assurance effective and respected. You are not there to defend a document that was approved months ago. You are there to protect outcomes that leadership funded, such as resilience, security, cost efficiency, and capability uplift. When teams see you protecting outcomes rather than enforcing paperwork, they engage earlier and trust your guidance. With the mindset set, you now frame assurance across the life cycle so it becomes predictable. Initiation is where you confirm the problem is well understood and the scope is realistic. Design is where you validate patterns, controls, and non-functional requirements. Build and implementation are where you watch for drift and manage exceptions. Sustainment is where you confirm the solution is operable, measurable, and governed long after the project closes. This lifecycle approach turns assurance into a rhythm rather than a surprise intervention. With lifecycle clarity, you start at initiation because early mistakes cause the most. You confirm that the initiative aligns to business goals, capability uplift, and the enterprise roadmap. You validate that stakeholders understand the scope and constraints, that dependencies are identified, and that success measures are clear. You also confirm early that security and compliance expectations are understood, because many programs fail when these are discovered late. With initiation validated, you now ensure the architecture intent is understood by delivery teams. You translate target state direction into clear non-negotiables, flexible choices, and key design constraints. You make it clear what must be standard, what can vary, and what requires an exception pathway. This is how you prevent delivery teams from guessing, and it is how you reduce rework later. With intent communicated, you now focus on design assurance, where most critical trade-offs are locked in. You confirm that the design meets principles and standards, that it aligns to target state patterns, and that it addresses non-functional requirements such as availability, recoverability, performance, and operational supportability. You also validate security design expectations such as identity and access control, data protection, logging, monitoring, and threat-informed boundaries. Your goal is not to redesign the solution. Your goal is to ensure design choices remain defensible and aligned. With design validated, you now focus on dependencies, because dependencies are what break plans. You ensure integration dependencies are understood, interface ownership is clear, data flows are mapped, and external platform requirements are confirmed. You also validate vendor dependencies, contractual constraints, and delivery sequencing assumptions. This is how you prevent a program from reaching implementation and suddenly discovering that an upstream system cannot support the required change. With dependencies addressed, you now move into build and implementation assurance, where pressure is highest. This is where teams may request exceptions, change design choices, or defer controls to meet deadlines. Your role is to keep delivery moving while ensuring that deviations are deliberate, documented, and risk managed. You do this by focusing on what truly matters: security posture, operational readiness, resilience, and alignment to the roadmap outcomes. With implementation pressure in mind, you now apply the exception process as a core assurance tool. When a standard cannot be met immediately, you ensure the deviation is documented with rationale, compensating controls, residual risk acceptance, and a review timeline. You protect the organization from hidden risk, and you protect delivery teams from informal shortcuts that later become audit issues or incident triggers. This is how assurance becomes a partnership instead of a battle. With exceptions controlled, you now focus on operational readiness because many projects are delivered but not truly usable. You validate that monitoring, incident response, access management, change controls, and support ownership are ready before go live. You confirm that service level expectations are realistic and that the operating model can support the solution at the required business criticality. If operations are not ready, go live becomes a high risk event rather than a controlled transition. With operational readiness in view, you now ensure security readiness is treated as a go live requirement, not a future improvement. You validate that identity controls, privilege controls, data protections, logging, and monitoring meet the required standards for the environment. You also validate that security responsibilities are clear, such as who responds to alerts, who maintains controls, and how vulnerabilities are managed post-deployment. This prevents the common trap where security debt accumulates quickly after launch and becomes expensive to fix. With go live achieved, you now move into post go live assurance because leadership funded outcomes, not deployment events. You confirm that the solution is achieving the intended capability uplift, that performance and reliability meet expectations, and that operational metrics show stability rather than rising incident rates. You also validate that promised decommissioning and simplification actually happens because many transformations fail by leaving legacy systems running and paying double forever. Post-go live assurance ensures value is realized and not quietly lost. With value realization addressed, you now focus on sustainment, where architecture either stays healthy or slowly decays. Sustainment assurance ensures the solution continues to align to principles, standards, and risk posture as changes occur over time. You confirm that ownership remains clear, that exceptions are reviewed, that security controls remain effective, and that operational processes continue to function under real-world stress. This is how you prevent solutions from becoming tomorrow's technical debt. With sustainment in mind, you now communicate assurance in a way that builds executive trust. Leaders want clarity on whether delivery is aligned, whether risks are controlled, whether exceptions are increasing, and whether outcomes are being realized. You provide confidence statements backed by evidence, such as readiness indicators, risk status, decision records, and outcome metrics. This makes assurance visible and valuable rather than invisible and assumed. With the assurance lifecycle clear, you can now ground it in an end-to-end example. Imagine a customer platform program moving from initiation to go live. In initiation, you confirm alignment to roadmap outcomes and identify dependencies across identity, billing, and analytics. In design, you validate identity controls, data protection posture, and monitoring expectations. During build, the team discovers a legacy integration constraint and requests an exception. You ensure compensating controls are defined and residual risk is accepted with accountability. Before go live, you validate operational readiness, support ownership, and incident processes. After go live, you confirm the solution meets service expectations and that legacy components are being decommissioned as planned. This is assurance in practice, continuous confidence, controlled change, and realized value. As you close the lecture, you should recognize why assurance often fails even in well-intentioned organizations. Assurance fails when it becomes a late-stage audit, when it focuses on documentation over outcomes, when exceptions are informal, and when operational readiness is treated as someone else's problem. You avoid these failures by engaging early, staying outcome-focused, controlling exceptions through governance, and making readiness measurable and explicit. Let's now discuss the key takeaways from what you learned so far, so you can govern delivery from initiation to sustainment with confidence and credibility. Architecture assurance is continuous confidence building that ensures approved architecture is delivered, risks are managed, and outcomes are realized, not just documented. You prevent delivery drift by translating target state intent into clear non-negotiables, validating design alignment early, and managing dependencies before they become late surprises. During build and implementation, you keep delivery moving while controlling exceptions, documenting residual risk acceptance, and ensuring operational and security readiness are treated as go-live requirements. After go-live, you focus on value realization, performance and resilience outcomes, and planned decommissioning. So the organization does not pay double for old and new systems. Sustainment assurance keeps architecture healthy over time by maintaining ownership clarity, reviewing exceptions, and ensuring controls and operations remain effective. As you move into the next lecture, shift your mindset from one-time approvals to continuous assurance that protects business outcomes. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next videos in this playlist. Like this video so it reaches more leaders and architects who need practical guidance on governing delivery without becoming a bottleneck. Comment with the hardest assurance challenge you face, whether it is delivery drift, operational readiness, exceptions, or post-go-live value realization. Share this video with someone leading a major program because architecture assurance is the difference between successful transformation and expensive disappointment.